And thank you for joining our webinar. My name is Paula Sullivan, Senior Marketing Manager here at Uipath. I wanted to go over a few housekeeping items before we get started. Everyone will be on mute during the presentation. The chat box is available to send messages to the panel if you need something. There will be several polls throughout, so please make sure to participate. Handouts are available and can be downloaded from the handout box. Questions can be asked in the Q&A box and will be answered throughout the session. So let's practice now to get the hang of it. If you wouldn't mind, please open the question box and type in where you're joining from today. If you look, the question box should pop up. If you'd like, you can just type in and let us know where you're at today, and we can just make sure everybody understands how to use the Q&A box. Well, it looks like we've got a lot of shy people out there that don't want to tell us where they're from. So, all right, great, thanks. Oh, I see Columbus, Ohio. Awesome, so thank you. Austria, wow, that's a beautiful place. So, all right, well, thank you guys. All right, Indiana, so there we go. We're seeing a few more folks jumping on now. Wonderful, well, great. Well, it looks like folks have gotten the hang of how to use the Q&A box. So please continue to use that throughout the presentation to ask questions. We will try to address some as the presentation is going, and others we can address toward the end of the presentation as well. So at this point, I'd like to turn things over to Brad Beumer, our Customer Experience Automation Leader here at Uipath. Brad?
Thanks, Paula. Hey, great to hear that there's somebody from Indiana, fellow Hoosier. I'm also calling in from Indiana today. So welcome to everyone. Hey, we've got a great session planned for you today. And, we're going to make it very demo focused. We're going to talk a little bit out front about just what we see, what our vision is, how the Uipath platform plays in customer experience and customer experience automation. But we've got Jonathan Decker, who's one of our pre-sales specialists focused on contact center, helps a lot on the contact center. We've got one of our partners, Mladen Milanovic, who's going to show you a very unique use case that I think is going to be coming up more and more in the customer experience and contact center space. But again, we've heard you from last webinars and presentations, so you want to see more demos. So we lined up today's session with a lot of demos, but just to help out, and for some of those that maybe haven't been on our past webinars, and maybe you want to understand a little bit more about how automation plays in contact center and customer experience automation. And if I were to put it in a nutshell, I'd say the way we play, the way we work is really around the omni-channel experience. So how do you apply automation to help customers throughout that omni-channel journey make that seamless transition, whether it's from self-service channel, multiple self-service channels, or over to assisted human. And that's really what we're going to talk a little bit about today, and how that applies most importantly to metrics like customer satisfaction, but there are other important metrics as well, and those are all things that we're going to cover. But to first get things started, how do we see automation playing in customer experience? And it really starts off with robotic process automation. We got to be able to integrate, whether that's through the user interface, whether it's through the API, direct database access, whatever it might be. We need to be able to integrate. And of course, Uipath is being the company that can help with keyboard, automate any of those things that humans might do, but we can also help out in other areas as well. And some of those areas apply to come to mind, or applying AI and machine learning. Specifically when it comes to things like sentiment analysis and next best action, but maybe also in helping to triage emails. So those emails don't have to go to an agent. And while we're talking about emails, those could be live chats or automated chatbots too, where we're doing some of the initial triage, classification of the interaction type, and maybe applying automation to it. So again, maybe it doesn't have to go to a human to work on, and we're able to fully deflect that interaction from the agent and from the contact center. But one of the big questions that comes up is, well, how do we discover these automation opportunities? Well, good news is we have tools that help with automation discovery, whether it's on the agent desktop and actually looking at what they're doing, and then applying AI to analyze it and help you come up with the best use cases with the highest ROI, or maybe it's taking all of your email logs, phone logs, website logs, chatbot logs, etc., and applying AI to those to help map out what a customer journey looks like. And once you have those customer journey maps, you can start to find automation opportunities that might, again, help out with self-service. Well, at the end of the day, UiPath can integrate with just about anything. One of the things that we've been trying to do is make it simpler, faster, cheaper, easier for you to be able to build these customer experience automations, be able to build your UiPath automations. And we do that through our native integrations that are in our marketplace for Amazon Connect, Twilio, Salesforce.com, Workday, and many others. There are too many for me to talk about here. It could be a whole separate webinar. But a lot of those integrations, again, we can integrate with anything, but those native integrations are there to make it simpler, faster, and easier for you to get these types of automations up and running in a rapid fashion. But the last part of this is really around being able to engage. So many of you have probably seen our Uipath Apps, or our low-code platform to help develop these rich agent experiences, but also robots that can play inside of existing SaaS applications. This also includes chatbots, and we were talking about journey mapping earlier. Once you get those journey maps, you need to be able to analyze and find where the automation opportunities are. One of the big questions that I often get after we get started and we talk is, where does UiPath play? What is UiPath's role? Is UiPath the phone system? Or are you the CRM application? Are we a knowledge base? Are we another system of record? And at the end of the day, we're really not any of those things. But what we are, and going back to the omnichannel discussion we were having earlier, what we are is the glue, the fabric, or sometimes what I really like to say is the stitching that helps weave all those different channels that you have today, all those different systems and applications that you may have today into that seamless experience. So when a customer starts out on your website, and then they may go to a chatbot and ask a few questions, maybe that chatbot session turns into a live chat session, then maybe live chat becomes a phone call, and that phone call turns into a follow-up email. How do you tie all those together so it's one seamless experience for the customer for that interaction? And that's really where we play in, is that stitching that helps weave all those channels and all the different applications and systems involved in that together into a seamless experience. Now, before we get into our demonstrations, I did want to just highlight at a high level what the customer experience journey looks like. And just at a high level, typically the way we see this starting out is in self-service. So this could be augmenting or supplementing existing self-service channels like your phone system and your IVR with a robot. Could be something as simple as a password reset use case. Could be other use cases like ordering a new debit card or a new member card or ID card. Those are all things and there are lots of others as well, order status, shipping status, payment, several use cases that actually fall into this self-service area. But our robots are there to help augment or supplement your existing channels or your existing systems, like existing IVR. But we can also offer new channels, new capabilities as well, whether that's through a chatbot or other type. But knowing that not every interaction may start in self-service and not everyone may end in self-service, we provide that warm or seamless transfer over to an agent. And this is where that low-code capability comes into play, where we can give the agent a buddy to help them out during the call. And that buddy may be there to help them out with the start of the call in terms of making sure that customer's information goes into the right applications to help bring up all the different systems and anything that's maybe specific to the context of the call. May help them during the call with anything they need to do, whether it's an escalation or entering when looking up a bill or other things. Then it may help them out with activities at the end of the call. So how do we automatically create after call work notes and other use cases that fall into that space too. And then the last part of this journey is what happens if the agent needs to hand it off? What happens if they need to hand it off to someone in the back office, maybe to another agent, a team lead, a supervisor, whomever it might be? We like to think that those handoffs are potential opportunities for automation, because you could probably hand off to a robot, and that robot may get all the way through the transaction or the interaction, or maybe we need to bring another human into the loop to finish it off. Now, you see a lot of different benefits on the screen, but the real benefit that we're going to talk a little bit more about today, I'm going to talk a little bit more later, is customer satisfaction, how this all plays into customer satisfaction. But the one key point here I want to highlight is that you'll see increased customer and employee satisfaction. We really see those two invariably linked, not just from a customer experience automation perspective, but if you've seen any of our webinars, if you've been on any of the Uipath webinars, read any of our material, you'll see that this has really become one of our core philosophies, one of our core tenets, is that high employee satisfaction leads to or contributes to high customer satisfaction. So with that, Paula, I think we're ready for our first poll. All right. While folks are entering in there. So Paula, I'm unable to see the poll, but maybe if you can, how are we
Yes,
looking?
so we're getting answers coming in, but the poll is what are your top customer experience improvement priorities? Add self-service capabilities, increase agent productivity, improve agent soft skills and engagement, all of the above, or we have other improvement priorities. So we're still getting quite a few votes in. We're almost to 75%. So let's give it just a few more seconds and we'll close it out here, Brad, and we will share the results here. Hang on one second. All right, so the results are in, and it looks like adding self-service capabilities, 15%, increase agent productivity at 7%, improve agent soft skills and engagement, 2%, all of the above, 70%. So that seems to be the number one answer. And we have other improvement priorities at 7%.
Okay, good. So some things, well, all of the above, that's actually interesting to hear. Not surprising, but interesting to hear, because that's somewhat what we were talking about here, and we'll highlight on all those areas as well as we go through the demonstration. So thanks everyone for contributing to the poll. All right. Now, I mentioned that we were going to talk more about some metrics and specifically customer satisfaction. And if you've been on some of our past webinars, you've probably seen us present these metrics before. They come from some research that we did with Uipath customers who were able to give us some information on the benefits that they achieved in implementing us in the contact center. We focus a lot on average handling time, first contact resolution, and training and onboarding costs. And you can see those numbers there. But I had a customer after our last webinar say, Brad, you guys don't talk enough about customer satisfaction, and you need to highlight that. And I said, I hope they're on the call today, because we're going to talk a little bit more about that. And we actually had an interesting calculation that we just did for one of our customers that looked at their net promoter scores. And we looked at what the numbers look like if you were able to, in this case, reduce churn by helping increase net promoter score, in this case, not decrease net promoter score. And well, I could share the numbers in a separate conversation if you want to take a look at what that calculation looks like. But just to give you an idea, when we perform that calculation, those reduction in churn, the benefits, the hard dollar benefits from the reduction in churn, which is related to satisfaction, was actually higher than all three of these put together. So it's a good point, and we want to talk a little bit more about that today. And I'm just going to highlight it. It's enough there to really be able to have a separate conversation. But I was talking about net promoter score, but the way Uipath can, we can help with those net promoter scores. But one of the other ways, it's really easy to get up and running to help engage or help find what customer and employee satisfaction might look like is by using sentiment analysis. And what you're seeing on the screen here is a simple setup of using our out-of-the-box AI capabilities to set up a text summarization service. So you might have a lot of text coming in from an email, a chatbot session, other places as well that we can summarize and then feed into our sentiment analysis machine learning models. And this will then give you the sentiment of the of the employer or the customer. Now that's actually just the beginning of the journey, because once you have the sentiment, you may want to, you might actually want to use that information to, if it's very negative, maybe escalate to a manager for a callback. Also in the case of being very negative, it might be an opportunity to proactively win back customers if you know that negative sentiment might lead to a customer churning to, for example, in our case that we were providing earlier, churning to another provider or another company. You might proactively have your win back team contact that individual and offer them incentives to stay with you. So this is an example of what it looks like on the screen, but the output is actually here. So this is just again, this is the beginning of the journey of the sentiment analysis journey, not the end. Once you have this data, and we're just putting it into an Excel sheet here, it could go into a database, it could go into your CRM application or your marketing platform. Lots of different opportunities here for the way this can be used. But the key point is that measuring customer satisfaction and combining this information with Net Promoter Score or other surveys that you might be sending out could help to finding some of these cases and helping to, again, boost satisfaction for the employee and the customer. So Paula, I know that was fast, but I think we're ready for another poll.
All right. So Brad, this poll is, what are your top customer experience technology investment areas? AI investments, conversational AI, speech analytics, etc. Providing agents a 360 view, 3,600 degree view of the customer, web and mobile updates, contact center as a service, all of the above are other investment priorities. So we're starting to see people get those votes in. So we'll just give it a few more seconds here and see what the answers look like.
And this question is somewhat of a lead-in to something that we're going to talk a little bit more about later on, which is around conversational AI. A lot of organizations that are implementing conversational AI and potentially how we can help with some of the consequences, positive and negative consequences of conversational AI.
All right, so let's, we've got almost 70% of folks have voted, so let's close that and let me share the results here. All right, it looks like AI investments is at 21%, providing agents with a 360 degree view is 14%, web and mobile updates 10%, contact center as a service 21%, and all of the above and or other investment priorities is at 33%.
Okay, that sounds like all of the above is the winner there.
It does.
Good. All right, very good. Again, thanks everyone for submitting the poll. And I did say that we were going to be demo heavy today, and our first demo, or our next demo that's coming up is Jonathan. Jonathan's going to show what that end-to-end experience looks like. So we were looking at the high-level view with just my 3 blocks on the screen, but Jonathan's actually going to show you what that looks like in a real-world example. So Jonathan, over to you, buddy.
Thank you, Brad. Can you confirm that you see the slide here?
We're good.
Perfect. So as Brad was mentioning, this demonstration, it's going to be around the end-to-end customer experience. And so the 2 personas that I'm personally going to be playing in this time frame is really the banking customer and what they see, as well as what the bank teller themselves are going to be interacting with and seeing as well. This demonstration, I'm going to kind of walk out. It really is split into 2 parts, right? And those really reflect those corresponding personas themselves. And so I, as that banking customer, am going to first want to apply for a loan. And how I'm going to accomplish this is I'm going to go out to that banking portal and utilize their chatbot on their site. And then I'm going to be fulfilling out some details and request for a HELOC loan. And then it's going to be me scheduling an appointment with the chatbot for meeting in person, right? So that's where then I take off my hat as the banking customer and put on my hat as the bank teller. as the bank teller, I'm going to be able to look up the customer's schedule details and the customer information by utilizing a Uipath robot. From that point, it's going to pull in all of the customer's information into one holistic view that we will call a 360 view, and it's going to let us walk through the process of applying for the loan and then applying for that safe deposit box at the very end. Okay, so I'm going to walk through that demonstration. So I'm going to minimize this, and we're going to be going to the bank website itself. So I, as the banking customer, can go and navigate to this website. And in this case, I'm going to be leveraging this chatbot down here, which is utilizing the Druid chatbot. This Druid chatbot is actually asking me for my information as my phone number. So I'm going to type that in, and I will explain what is going to be happening on the back end for that. So I sent in my number, and it's the chatbot actually hands off this verification to the Uipath robot that is running in an unattended fashion. So it doesn't need any human interaction for that. It gathers information, sends the text across for Twilio, because we have a native integration with that. And so I'm going to actually bring up my phone at this point, and I'm going to look up what the corresponding text that was sent over for this corresponding piece at this point in time. So I'm going to type in that number. See if I don't mistype it. And then the chatbot asks me, as the banking customer, what do I want to do today? And in this case, I want to open a loan. So I specify that I want a loan, and it asks me what kind of loan do I want. And so in this case, it's asking for a HELOC. What is important here is that this information is passed back to the Uipath robot, and the Uipath robot looks at my account based off of my phone number, looks to see if I have the information available for a HELOC loan, and is looking up my property, right? And it's going to provide back based off of wherever it grabbed that. It could have grabbed that from a mainframe system, a CRM system, whatever it might be on the back end. It's going to grab that and provide it back into the chatbot. So I can say, yes, this is the correct target property, and it's going to confirm that. And it's asking me, how much am I looking for this HELOC loan? So in this case, I'm going to put in the number of 250,000, click enter, and we can see that it's asking me also, where am I going to use this? And so this kind of showcases beyond all these pieces that I'm doing here, we'll pick home improvement, but how that conversational interaction really works. And here we'll see that, yes, I've been pre-qualified for this home equity line of credit, and I will be receiving an email confirmation shortly. That is being sent off and approved by the Uipath robot on the back end. So even in those cases where you don't have APIs and you have legacy systems, you can have that fulfillment be extremely verbose because you're going to be able to support wherever that fulfillment needs to happen. So as the last step as this banking customer is I need to select what time do I want to meet in person to finalize this loan. So I will pick Monday at 10 a.m. and it's going to now create that corresponding appointment itself, and it's going to allow me to get provided an upsell opportunity. Since it does understand and have access to all of my corresponding account at this time, it can understand what will be most impactful for that upsell event. And in this case, this safe deposit box does seem like something I would be interested in. So I can click that, and now they have that set up to be tackled during my appointment itself. And so at this point, I'm going to take off my hat as the banking customer, and I'm going to put on my hat as the banking teller itself. So I'm going to be transitioning over to our apps platform. Uipath Apps is a very intuitive way of building out user interfaces for your automations. And we're going to be launching that what I would do at the beginning of the day is this UI Banker console itself. Once this launches, it's actually going to look at my bank teller schedule for the day and actually notice that the customer coming in, his name is Mike Shift, and it's going to pull up his account details without my hands on the keyboard at all. And so it's going to pull up not only information that might be in the mainframe system, which you'll see populating real shortly, but it's also pulling up stuff from the background CRM system as well. And so it has information it's going to grab for all these locations So here it found that makeshift appointment, and it's going to bring in the information from all the corresponding information systems, as well as this mainframe system, which has popped up to the front so we can see it. That could be launched in what is called picture-in-picture, which would run in the background and not require to take over my user interface. So now as the banking teller, I can validate, yes, this is Mike Shift I'm talking to. I can check in with him around other things that are in his history. It's like, oh, that fraud notice that was resolved, is that still good from your end? Yes, it is. Okay, that sounds great. So I can start working through my appointment details at this point. So I can click on the HELOC loan approval, and it walks me through the step-by-step how to go through this, rather than me as a bank teller have to know all the corresponding systems I need to touch and work through it in that fashion. So to just approve the credit check, I don't need to know how to launch this. I can click this start process, and the attended robot that's going to pull in all the information related to that credit check. So I, as the end user, don't have to worry about that. The credit check looks good. I can download that corresponding check, validate it with the customer, and move on. The second piece is around scanning documentation. And what's great about this is that even in the case where maybe I have a physical scanner, being able to launch this from the attended robot lets me then push it straight into the systems of source very quickly and pull and extract out all that information utilizing Uipath's document understanding technology, so I can then focus in on interacting with the customer and not have to worry about manipulating the documents and working with the systems. So if I click Start Process, it is now starting up the process locally, and I can bring up the corresponding folder locations based off of my network scanner. In this case, I can see that I have these two files I want to scan in. I can take these and mimic the process that a network scanner would do based off of pasting them into the scanned documents location. Once it's in, we can immediately see it's found the scan of number 1, and it's extracting that information, and it's going to be extracting the information from the second scan as well. During this time, there's an unattended robot that is actually extracting that information using our document understanding framework and pulling that details together based off of the license as well as the other document that was pulled in. This lets me as the actual agent focus in on what is most important. Now I can validate all the information that is provided back from those extractions. We can see things from the passport itself, as well as piece of information from the W-2. I can make sure this is exact with the documents at hand. I can verify that the person I am talking to today is Mike Shift. And before long, I click the submit loan, and now it's being sent over to underwriting. What this really shows is that having a holistic view can speed up this process, so I don't have to jump between the multiple myriad of different systems to accomplish this task. And so the last piece is opening up that safe deposit box. Since I was able to upsell Mike Shift, I can open the safe deposit box very quickly. I click Start Process. And then it walks me through this process just like it did with the HELOC loan. I can get to pick the exact size I want. Mike Shift wants a medium box. I can collect the customer's signature. It actually scans in on the device itself. I can reserve that safe deposit box, and it goes out to that end system, updates it on the fly, so I don't have to go and apply it. I just need to give it the information it needs, and it has all the information from Mike Shift's account, so it can fill that out very easily. And I can tell Mike Shift that he's got box 542 reserved, so he can then go on his day. And we were able to accomplish this because we were able to pull everything together and actually improve the experience for that end customer, as well as improve the banking customer's experience as well. But this doesn't have to stop at banking. This could be any interaction you want, especially in a contact center where you want to consolidate the information and streamline those processes. Is a very powerful tool in those spaces. And with that being said, that ends my demonstration. I'm going to hand it back to, or actually I'm going to hand it over to Mladen. So let me do that.
Yeah, Jonathan, I think we've got a poll right before we get to Mladen's demo.
Perfect.
All right. Thank you, Jonathan. I think there's the poll on the screen now.
All right, everybody, let's get in on our last poll. How are you testing your conversational AI solutions? No testing, manual testing, leveraging an automated testing tool, or other testing approach. So let's get those votes in. All right. Seeing those come in. All right, let's just give it about 10 more seconds. So if you'd like to vote, go ahead and get that question answered, and then we'll take a look at what results we see. All right, we're gonna close the poll down. And then let's see, there we go. Brad, can you see the results there?
I can see them, and that's kind of what we expected to see. And I'll tell you why this is important, and leads right into Mladen's video. Part of this has to do with a recent conversation that we had with one of our banking customers who had deployed a conversational AI, a chatbot solution about a year ago. It didn't have a Uipath automated robot. It was from one of the chat vendors. And they found out through a customer that when a customer asked a question, and this was an existing customer in this case, when the customer asked the question about how do I open an account, the conversational AI, the AI behind the scenes, was actually giving the customer information on how to close an account. And when they asked about, for example, they also asked about PPP, this was a small business owner, it was actually directing them to other banks. So the relevance here and why we wanted to really talk about this today is conversational AI and the solutions that we're talking about with natural language processing, understanding, and other AI capabilities become more and more adopted and prevalent. There's a very much a need to be able to test them. And Mladen and Presidio have come up with a very interesting solution to help automate that using Uipath and some other tools too. So Mladen, with that, over to you.
All right, let me just share the appropriate monitor real quick. So this is going to, just give me a second. You guys tell me if you guys can see my my monitor right now.
We're good. We got it.
All right. All right, guys. First of all, thank you everybody for joining. Brad, thank you for kind of warming up everything. So I'm going to talk about something that everyone in the contact center industry likes, which is testing. No, nobody likes it. We all like to develop stuff, but at the end of the day, the testing is the most important part of our job, because we need to make sure that those experiences that we are building for our clients are in fact functional and right to the point, and avoid those examples that Brad just explained, like that we are seeing our potential customers to another bank or to another business. So let me just give you kind of high-level overview of the contact centers and what's happening in the contact center today that drives this need for really extensive testing. So long time ago, when I started with the industry, most of our clients were really concerned about, okay, I want to receive the call, play the prompt, and really triage that call and send the call to the right person. And what we kind of noticed that at that time, majority of the contact centers are understood that they are face of the company to the customers, and they were trying to really minimize that technology exposure. And they were designed as a really siloed and very slow to adopt new features and technologies, not because of kind of technology lag, but mostly because they just wanted to avoid points of failure, or they were not able to really build the robust systems that can provide robust self-service capabilities. Today, as you know, everything every industry is severely disrupted, and the most important thing that our customers and their customers are looking for is building the individual experience, or they are looking for a brand that can deliver on that individual experience at any time, from anywhere, and via any device. And what that puts us in a position that we need to build a contact centers and improve and add features in an agile manner. So the contact centers today and brands today that are not really agile, that they are not responding on those trends, are really left behind. So
Mladen, sorry to
yes.
interrupt, but we're still on your titles. We're still seeing your title slide.
Oh, I'm sorry. So let's see. Is it better now?
We see it. Yep, very good.
All right. Oh, sorry about that. So anyway, long story short, the fact that we are now investing and spending more time from the developing and implementation on new features, we are putting additional pressure on contact center developers, but also to a QA teams, because now we need to really have that testing done right, and testing done in a very fast fashion in order to be able to roll out those features to our customers. When we are talking about a contact center testing, we are talking about 3 major testing points. First of all, it's the IVR, self-service IVR testing, where we have a different natural language IVRs, we have a command and control IVRs, different voice bots, and sometimes we have a need to deploy IVRs that have a DTMF control or communication with a client. On the omni-channel side, as Brett pointed out in the first part of the presentation, we really need to find a way to test our chat interactions, our messaging interactions across the different channels, across the Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, you name it, right? Email, mobile, and web as well. And lastly, in order to provide that level of the agent efficiencies, we need to ensure that all those new applications that contact center agent have in front of them during the call are functioned properly. So we need to involve the implementation and testing of the agent application, and that CTI, that's what we refer as a CTI connection as well. And all of that is wrapped up in not just the one-time testing, but also we need to create a methodology for regression testing as well, because every time when we deploy a new feature, every time when we change a backend system or update the backend system, we need to ensure that previous interactions or previous experiences are intact. So when, as you guys know, Presidio has a long history in the contact centers, and when we were looking at our next steps, we definitely saw Uipath as a platform that really can help us build those new experiences and increase the efficiencies of the agents and increase the experiences of the customers interacting with those call centers. Because again, Uipath as a platform allows us to really bring different solutions together and bridge the gap between the different applications. When we are looking at the testing, so what we are doing here, we are using Uipath platform as a driver, as a tester, and bringing the power of the communication platform as a service in order to reach to those external services. And we are adding the AI services in order to evaluate the response that enable robot to make evaluation of the responses that we are receiving from the IVR or from the chatbot or from the SMS bot for that matter. So in this specific demo that I will show, so what we did, we are using those unattended robots, and we integrate the Uipath environment with Twilio as a communication platform as a service, and we are using external AI service TwinWord to evaluate semantically what we are receiving from the natural language IVR system on the other side. So what's going to happen is basically we build a system in which a robot is going to call the IVR and receive the messages from the IVR, and based on those messages, provide the specific inputs or responses based on our test cases, and collect response from the IVR and evaluate the test if actual response is equal semantically to a expected response. So let me just show you the this demo video here. So Brad, before I start, do you guys see my new screen right now?
I do see it, yes.
All right, so let me just move this and play this. Okay, so what we had here is, if you look, there is a Excel spreadsheet that we are using for testing. And in this specific sheet, we are going to have our test cases. This sheet shows a different test cases, and we are going to select a couple of those that we are going to run today as a demo. So the first one, we are going to basically, in this first one, in this test, what we are going to do, we are going to check a balance and the service for a specific account number. So if you guys see here, what's going to happen is we are going to instruct the robot to speak balance and the account number 954-547-5692. And then we're going to evaluate if we are getting expected responses from the IVR, and based on that, we are going to mark a test as a pass or fail. So in order to really showcase how this works, we are also going to mess up test number 2. So we kind of know that the expected prompt 3 should be that the service is functioning properly, but we are going to change, and we're going to say, well, okay, we expect that my service is down. So we are going to put that as a expected response, even though in a database the response is going to be different, in order to kind of test and show you guys how the robot is doing those stuff. So as soon as we fill out that specific test case, we are going to save the test cases. And as soon as this is written there, we're going to save this file. And this file will be fed automatically. So robot is going to pick up that file and start executing a test. So you're gonna, so this is my studio here. So we're going to just start running this specific set of tests. So what you guys are going to see here is a couple of things on the screen, and I hope that this is visible enough. So the first thing is that testing has been started. We are placing a call on for the specific account number, and we are saving the actual result into the specific new sheet that is going to be open into the Excel spreadsheet that I show you here. So as you see here, we are placing the call, we are capturing the response, we are transcribing the response that we are getting from the IVR, evaluating, and based on the status of that response, moving on in a call flow. And here you can see we are saying the number, which is account number, and collecting response. So pretty much based on the real-time interaction and evaluation, robot is able to navigate through the IVR tree and get to the point where it can collect all the responses and write them into that spreadsheet to complete the test. So we did finish the first test, and the robot moved to another test. So we are basically making the 2 calls, because that's how many different test cases we have. We instruct the robot to do. So as soon that this last call finishes up, we are going to bring up the spreadsheet and evaluate those test scenarios. Okay, so test has been completed. So we are going to open a spreadsheet. Let's just you see there are 2 sheets that robot created with the test results. So let's just make this a little bit much better readable here. All right, and we are going to make this one readable as well. There we go. So let's evaluate these test results. First of all, you can see actual results, expected results, and similarities. So similarity is something that AI is semantically evaluating how text is similar. So we can see here, and this is something that I'm going to kind of stop here. So you can see that during the transcription, we kind of capture multiple times saying menu because menu was repeating, but this was expected result. But keeping in mind that our machine learning model was able to figure out that this is completely the same thing, we mark this as a completely similar, so 100%. So this is a completely good test. If we look over there, our machine learning model is built that everything above 80% is correct. So we saw here, if you guys remember at the beginning of the demo, we did change this. So actual result was that service is functioning properly. However, we said that the expected result is the service is down, and the raw based on the AI model marked this as a 54% accurate. So this is something that is indication that this test didn't go through. So we are going to just manually mark this as a bad example or bad test that we need to repeat or review what happened there. But we definitely know that first two test cases passed without any issue. If we move on a different spreadsheet, on a different sheet, it's the same thing. Everything is above 80, so we know that all of those responses from the IVR are in fact good, and we can mark them as a pass. So this is a very high level, and the same concept can be used to test not just voice driven and natural language driven IVRs, but also the SMS bot, chat bots, and you name it. So thank you for that. I am going to stop and pass the change of presenter to Brad now.
All right, Mladen, I think that's a very powerful demonstration because we're kind of using AI to put checks on AI, and you didn't hear it on the in the demo, but you're actually placing an outbound call when we were going through. It's placing an outbound call and looping through the IVR tree to test to make sure that it's providing that correct response.
Yeah, the robot is really playing a person, to be honest with you, as you pointed out. And if you guys are interested, just let us know. I have a recording from the call that I can download because I'm recording the entire interaction between the IVR and the robot, so I can you can hear it like that part where IVR is speaking, part where robot is speaking. So it's very interesting having the two machines talking to each other.
The other part is that we did this in an IVR because it's the hardest to automate, but you could do this in a chatbot. You were mentioning SMS bots and others. I mean, there are a lot of possibilities to be able to use these exact same test cases in other channels.
Oh yeah, and that's a great point. And to be honest with you, the natural language understanding IVRs are one of the most complex to test because you really need to time, and there is that need for real-time interaction between the robot and the IVR. However, when we are testing a chatbots and SMS bots or you name it, this is less time-sensitive interaction. The response, it's really kind of a request response type of deal where timing is not that important. But in any case, robots can do that really without any significant issues there.
Yeah, and I know one other thing that you mentioned to me that brought me back to my old testing days was that we had the problem where test data would go stale or it just wouldn't work, and you had to go and look up new test data. And you were talking about how you could use a Uipath robot, whether it's every morning, every week, every month, to go out to the right system, whether it's a mainframe, SAP, Oracle, whatever, and pull back test data. So you're essentially refreshing your test scripts when they need to be refreshed.
And absolutely. So that's where things get very interesting because we are leveraging the robotic process automation platform. So we can use what RPA has natively, go in a backend system and automatically get a fresh batch of testing data. Because as you pointed out, in all testing, and even today we have a client that we are talking to where test data are really something that is changing. So if we are able to get a new batch of testing data with expected results, we can make that testing process continuous and have every morning 5:30 we can run through the tests and we can send a report. Hey, we ran 10 different tests and we tested this type of functions, and here is the success rate. So when a contact center admin arrives, he or she can really understand if there is any issue that needs to be dealt before contact center goes live for that day.
Sounds good. Thanks again, Mladen. That was a great demonstration, and I think also a very powerful use case that provide a lot of benefits when it comes to these next generation problems that we're going to have with conversational AI and other AI tools, and then having a solution for that problem. All right, so just confirming on my end that everyone can see my screen. I'm going to wrap things up here. All right, very good. You know, one of the big questions that we often get is after we show all these use cases and talk at a high level about what exactly it is that you can do with automation and automating customer experience, we often get the question of, you know what, where do I start? How do I get started with this? And, you know, we've gone through a few iterations of how we answer that question of how do you start? How do you get started with automation in the contact center and for customer experience? And we've had these heat maps that we've shown, and they help, they're good, they're general. We said, you know what, we need to go into another layer of level of detail here. So we created what we call demand workbooks, which have, I know it's too small to see on the screen. If you're interested in seeing them, don't hesitate to reach out. And by the way, this is just a few here. We have dozens and dozens of these across various industries. But these demand workbooks go into more detail. They show what was the problem, what was the solution, what was the benefits, what robots were used, what applications were automated, all those other good details that you sometimes need to be able to, you know, evaluate a potential use case. But you know, the challenge with those approaches is that they're sometimes very manual. One of the it's been a private preview for a while, but in our latest release, we released a product called Task Mining that can actually help in an automated way discover those use cases. And what I like to say is, give me 5 to 10 agents for 2 to 4 weeks. We'll put task mining on their desktops, and it will monitor or look at how those agents are working. And it's going to give us back all the details and all the data. It's going to do the analysis and tell us where exactly some of those automations opportunities may lie, where some of those good use cases are. It's going to tell us a little bit about the ROI. It's going to give us a document that we can use, process definition document. And you know what, if they are good automations or good opportunities for automation, we can automatically take those automations, put them into what we call Studio, our development environment or configuration environment, to help you configure the right robot or get started configuring the right robots for those agents. But that's on the agent side and for the contact center. The other part of this is really around what we were talking about with self-service and how do we look at those journey maps. So if you have, you know, in this case, what you're seeing are the phone logs, the email logs, the web logs from your website, live chat logs and other logs, we can take that log information and we can start to create what you see on the screen here. Looks a lot like a journey map. Now, when I used to create journey maps when I was a consultant, they were horizontal and they were prettier, but this is a good start because we used to spend a lot of time and a lot of effort building out those journey maps for customers to start to identify where there might be automation or optimization opportunities along the customer journey and for the customer experience. So, I thought we would end there, just giving everyone an idea. Hopefully we've got everyone excited and they are interested in getting started and they want to reach out to us and they want to learn more. And I think we've got a few ways for them to contact us, and we've got other webinars coming up. So let me hand it over to you.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Brad and Jonathan, Mladen. This was great. I don't see any questions in the question box. So if you do have any last minute questions that you might want to type in there, we can try to answer those live or get back to you. But I did want to let you know that we're going to be participating in another event with the Proqis BTOES team. That's going to be the RPA and Intelligent Automation Live event coming up June 15th through the 17th. On June 16th, Brandon Knott, who's our SVP of products, will be leading our session on overcoming obstacles to accelerate your automation program. So we're going to have a great customer panel joining Brandon, talking about some of their use cases and insights from their RPA journey. So I did put this in the chat box with a link where you can go and register. Anyway, I don't know if there's any more questions coming in. Let me check the question box one last time. I don't see any, so I guess we'll go ahead and end today. Thanks again for everybody coming and listening in, and appreciate it. Have a great day. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you.
I think so.